Hey guys, Trigger here today, doing something a little different. I happen to be in town, and I am at my alma mater, Case Western Reserve. You see a lovely Delbert Hall there in the background. And with all that's been going on in the news, tragedies in Connecticut, Oregon, elsewhere, I thought you guys might like to take a little stroll with me down memory lane, so long as I was in town here. Because in 2003, while I was still a student here at Case Western, we had a mass shooter on campus. It was something that I lived through, and I thought I might take you guys through it, give you a little perspective on what it's like having a near miss and living through a mass shooting scenario. So we're up here on the main quad, and I'm going to take you through my day that day, last day of finals, 2003, spring semester. I was taking an exam in Wickenden Hall. It's that one back there. And had finished my exam and was heading north back to the business school. On my way there, I'll take you down the route I went, but I had a project to turn in initially, which thankfully for me was not required. And I'll come to that a little bit when I get a little closer. But at any rate, my final finished, and I was going to take you on the route that I took that day, and thought you guys might like to see it. Don't worry, I'll do some time lapse or something, so you won't have to, you know, stand with me as I waddle the entire way back to the other side of campus. At any rate, that's where I started, and we'll come back here in another minute. But I proceeded down through the main campus here, and back across to the business school, and eventually back to my fraternity house. So this is kind of what went down that day. I hope you guys enjoy this little stroll down memory lane. Fun factoid there. For those of you not familiar with Case in the Cleveland area, that there is Severance Hall, where they filmed the opening scenes of Air Force One, Harrison Ford movie. You know, guys long roping onto the roof going to get the dictator. That's where it was filmed. Yeah, initially that day I actually went down through the heart of campus here, past the Calvin Smith Library and down that way. Unfortunately, as you can see, we can't go that way today. It looks like they're building onto the student union. About time. Just having come through the heart of campus there, what is now construction zone, coming down through this way, back over through the Mather Quad towards the Weatherhead School, the big sheet metal thing you see in the background. See, there's the Peter B. Lewis building. Came down through the Mather Quad and would have ducked in that building had it not been for the fact that my professor wasn't actually on campus that day. He had responded to my earlier email saying I didn't have to turn in my final paper in person because he wouldn't be there to get it. He said just email it in. As an end result, I didn't actually have to go into the building that day. Instead, I continued down to the North Campus, down Bellflower here. And it was very fortunate for me because about 15 minutes after when I would have entered the building, Biswaneth Halder went around back, which we'll get to in a second, and smashed in a glass door before proceeding to engage in a 5-hour running gun battle with the Cleveland police and SWAT units. So we'll go around back, show you where he came in, explain a little bit as we go along. There were really two Biswaneth Halders. There's the version in real life, and then there's the online version. Now the version in real life, well, kind of a failure to launch scenario, really. He's an Indian immigrant who had been in the Indian Army and come to school here. Never quite finished, taking one class at a time, worked a long string of low-level IT jobs. And there's the Biswaneth Halder that was online, where he portrayed himself as a successful businessman and, you know, philanthropist within the community. Now, his beef with the school was because he had built a website, essentially similar to LinkedIn, but for Indian businessmen and women looking to network with other Indian business men and women. Realistically, not a bad idea. And bear in mind, this is back in 2003, before a lot of these things launched. Well, being a man of little means, he took control of a school computer in the lab, loaded and ran his for-profit website, which is a big no-no according to university rules. When the folks in charge found out, wiped the computer, put it back into service the way it should have been before he had co-opted the machine. And as a direct result, he kind of lost it. I mean, that was his life. That was, you know, everything that meant anything to him. So first he tried suing the school, he tried suing the guys that ran the computer lab, tried suing the university president. None of that worked. So instead, on the last day of finals, spring 2003, he came around here to this door and smashed it in with a sledgehammer before going on a shooting rampage. They ended up evacuating a lot of the area. Now me, like I said, I was lucky. I wasn't actually in the building, though I would have been had it not been for my professor not being on campus. I instead got back to my fraternity house and watched on the news as the SWAT team used their armored vehicle to bust in the front door. Not knowing if my friends and classmates, professors, the girl that I was seeing at the time, were okay. End result, 5 hours later, I'll roll in some stills here, I hope, of the interior of the building so you'll understand why. They finally cornered him in a classroom on the 5th floor and went and hauled his butt to jail. Now, in the process of all this, he killed one student, fine young man, upstanding member of his community, and wounded a staff member, and I believe a professor. It might have been another staff member. Don't quite 100% remember that. But they caught him, and he's serving now something like 300 consecutive life sentences for all the counts of kidnapping and terrorism and everything else like that. Alright, across the street now. It's kind of a busy street there on Ford. Long story short, even though the building was posted as a gun-free zone, it most certainly was not in actual effect. You know, he went in, did his business, had a couple of guns, had a camo-style vest and a bunch of magazines and a ton of ammo, and took 270 some odd people hostage. They ended up having a triage area in the basement, and eventually caught him. Had a nice man. And there was nothing anyone could do at the time except watch on the news. I sat there with my fraternity brothers who were still on campus at the time and fielded frantic phone calls from brothers who had left for the semester, parents, friends, girlfriends, our international headquarters, trying to make sure everyone was okay. We were lucky. You know, 2 injured, 1 killed because of the prompt response of the Cleveland police, who did really a fantastic job. I can in no way fault them. I mean, they were on scene with SWAT within minutes, but that was enough time for him to kill someone and force a lockdown of the entire campus. And 5 hours later, they finally cornered him. And for those of you thinking, well, you know, crazy guy, yeah, but I mean courageous. By the time they finally cornered him, he'd been wounded by several officers. He was found in a 5th floor classroom, hiding in a closet. And he had dumped his camo fatigues and all of his other stuff in a trash can and tried to make himself off like an injured grad student, but by that time the police knew who he was. As a direct result, there's a lot of stress and a lot of emotional damage, and yeah, someone died. But, you know, would having guns on campus have changed that? Possibly. Possibly not. I mean, admittedly, he smashed in the front door and shot the very first person he saw. So, unless that student who was killed had been carrying at that time chances are they still would have been killed, and the other 2 people on the first floor still would have been wounded. You know, there's really no getting around that, I'm sorry. So, but might someone have stopped him from holding a school of 300 plus people hostage? Maybe. We'll never know. Anyways, that's my experience with being an active shooter, what it was like. I mean, it was really nerve-wracking, you know. Like I said, not knowing if the people you cared about were safe or not, you know. Dealing with frantic phone calls, you know, as a business student myself, from my parents who, you know, were worried I was in the building when this was happening. It really kind of shakes up your world. So, you know, yeah, I've got a pretty good perspective on what those people in Connecticut are going through right now, or Oregon or elsewhere. And I just thought I'd share with you guys what exactly that was like. Hope this gives you a little perspective, gives you an idea of what it was like. I'll try to answer any questions and comments. You know, but, you know, it's kind of the way it was, you know. No, I should point out one thing. Our state did not have concealed carry at the time. Only open carry, and certainly not any place that banned it. Most notably here at a university, where all doors are posted with gunbuster signs telling you to keep your guns out. You know, so that's life. What can I say? Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Depending on how this comes out, I may reshoot it, maybe on a Saturday, maybe a little quieter, who knows. Lots of construction going on here during the week. Lots of landscaping and students still. But, yeah. As always, thanks for watching. Please subscribe for hopefully some more fun gun and project reviews and upbeat videos next time. But I really wanted to get this out, so thanks for watching again.